The issues of wills and inheritances are considered a significant and particularly sensitive area in the legal world for several reasons. The heirs are concerned with the execution and observance of the will and the division of the inheritance in a fair and accurate manner. However, given the complexity of wills and inheritances and the great sensitivity involved in writing and executing a will, disputes can sometimes arise leading to objections to an inheritance order, and so it is crucial to know the field and get legal assistance from a family lawyer. What is a will? A will is a legal document that explains what should be done with the author's possessions and body after he dies. Since it is a legally valid document, the Inheritance Law of 1965 stipulates how the will should be written, in what ways it can be done, and what happens if a will exists but does not meet all the criteria required for its writing. The importance of receiving legal guidance and advice from a qualified and experienced will and inheritatiacne lawyer. If you are looking for an inheritance and will lawyer, it is important to choose a leading and experienced law firm. Many are unaware of the important and different meanings in the will-making process, and there are many details and things that require attention and seers. In most cases, the end result obtained indicates and proves that an early consultation with an expert lawyer leads to an optimal consultation in the most successful and smooth manner when it comes to estate management. How do you choose a Quills and inheritance lawyer? Here are all the answers. Proper division of property and realization of the will. The legal world is quite complex and addresses a wide range of different aspects of our lives. Most of us will not need to seek legal assistance in most areas of law. However, every single person needs a will. To make a will correctly and ensure its full existence in accordance with the will of the deceased, it is important to issue a correct and equitable distribution of capital and property by drafting the quill with the help and assistance of an Israeli inheritance lawyer. In Israel, there are many lawyers who specialize in family law, but not all of them have expertise and experience in the field of inheritances and wills. When you are interested in making or executing a will, an inheritance and will lawyer is the one to turn to. To oppose a will, it is advisable to file the objection with a professional attorney who has knowledge in the matter. The professional services of an inheritance and wills lawyer. The law firm's inheritance and wills firm specializes in a variety of issues and proves various services in many fields. Drafting a will, division of property after death, compliance with the testator's instructions, etc. Undoubtedly, an inheritance and wills lawyer deals with one of the most important and sensitive areas in family law, and despite the great importance of the issue, there are those in Israel who do not make a will or do not make sure that their will meets all the criteria. An attorney who is an expert in the field will prepare the will correctly and provide you with all the necessary explanations and details that are important to know. Also, the legal accompaniment will allow you to make or exercise the will quickly to prevent disputes. Types of wills. Before you seek advice from a lawyer who specializes in wills, it is recommended that you become familiar with the types of wills. Handwritten will. According to the inheritance law, a handwritten will must be written entirely by the person and include a date and signature in his handwriting. The drafter of the will in this case is not an attorney for will matters. Witness will. A written will that includes the signature and date of the person, and in accordance with the inheritance law, the witnesses will sign the will and not the lawyer. Will before an authority. A will that must be said by the person orally before a judge or before a registrar of inheritance matters, court or religious authority. Will of return from evil. A will made by a person who sees himself approaching his death. The person may orally indicate the will before two witnesses together with the date on which it was made and the circumstances. When and why should one content an inheritance and wills lawyer? Firstly, it is important to note and emphasize that it is better, in almost every situation, to consult with an experienced lawyer in the relevant field. Inheritances and wills attorney has expertise, experience, and proficiency in the types of the law, and is well acquainted with all the various procedures, processes, and systems. In-depth familiarity with the various processes within law. An inheritance and wills lawyer will know how to assist you, even in cases where an objection is filed to the will that the deceased left. The lawyer you choose to accompany you through the process will have confidence in law. Furthermore, in the event of a dispute between the heirs, legal assistance is required from a qualified professional who has knowledge of all of the facets of law. An inheritance and wills lawyer will be able to assist you in all of these issues. Rules of inheritance. Upon the death of a person, his estate passes to his heirs, but constitutes as an heir. Rules of inheritance. Upon the death of a person, his estate passes to his heirs, but constitutes as an heir. In the inheritance law, heirs are defined by law as follows: who was at the time of the testator's death his spouse, the children of the testator and their descendants, the parents of the deceased and their descendants, as well as the parents of his parents and their descendants. If a person has drafted, written and made a will in his life, his estate will be divided according to the provisions of the will and not to his heirs according to law. If one of the heirs believes that the will is unfair or excludes him from the inheritance, i.e., it is unreasonable or does not reflect and conform to the will of the deceased, there is a possibility to file an objection to the will in order to invalidate the will. When submitting a letter of opposition, the document must include the various grounds for objecting to the will as stipulated by law, such as lack of kosher staff, errors or defects in the will, unfair influence or involvement in the will, forgery of the will, and more. Once a will is disqualified, they return to the basic rules of inheritance, which stipulate that the heirs of the deceased by law are his relatives. The role of a wills and inheritance lawyer. Making wills. There are 4 ways and forms of writing a will: a handwritten will, an oral will, a will before an authority, and a will for witnesses. In order to ensure and verify when your will becomes legally valid after your transfer, it is important to enlist an inheritance and wills lawyer who has expertise in the field. The lawyer will give you helpful tips and explain to you the correct rules for drafting a will, and thus ensure that it is written, edited, and signed in accordance with the law. Treatment of execution and opposition to a will. In order to fulfill a will, it is necessary to submit an application for the execution of a will. On the other hand, if there is any objection to those in the will, the objection to the issuance of the will must be submitted within the period of time allotted and determined for this purpose by the Registrar of Inheritance. Distribution of an estate according to an inheritance order. If the deceased did not leave a will, then his estate will be divided according to the law. Contact an expert lawyer who specializes in wills and inheritances. Change of will. An inheritance and wills attorney at the center also specializes in applying and handling wills. The manner of administering the will should not change, and even in the event that a change in the will is required, the change must be made in writing in the presence of 2 witnesses who cannot be included in the will. It is important to note that the will is sometimes signed by an inheritance and wills attorney and kept with him. Any change in the will be examined carefully, so that later it will not become clear that the change was made under external pressure, or that resulted from the experience and willingness to take advantage of the will writer. In many cases, orders are submitted to the court by an inheritance and wills lawyer to prevent the execution of the will, and more than once. The execution of the will may take much longer than it should due to various objections and delays. Rules for drafting, writing and drafting a will. The role of a lawyer who specializes in inheritance and wills matters at the center is to guide the mitzvah in how to properly edit and formulate the will correctly and in accordance with the rules that exist in the law. Legal aid includes instructions on how to properly divide future capital and property, and in addition to assisting potential prospective heirs who wish to execute the will, how to act and execute it correctly, or alternatively, when and how they can and may file objections where required and relevant. The need to find a professional and skilled inheritance and will attorney is known and clear, and this is because a change in a will is a common and familiar procedure that is performed in a variety of situations and in different cases. A leading and experienced law firm in the field of inheritances and wills. The law firm and notary Scheiman Hahn provides its many private and business clients with a comprehensive legal services package that includes professional escort, consulting and representation services in the field of civil commercial law at its various levels, and in the field of family law, with an emphasis on inheritance and wills. Our team of lawyers has gained extensive experience over the years in a variety of areas of law and provides a quality legal solution tailored to each client, whether it is complex real estate transactions, drafting and realizing a will, and more. Professionalism, reliability, and responsibility. We are at your service. We believe that everyone deserves proper legal advice and representation from expert, trusted, and experienced professionals who stand by him and accompany him all the way while he fights for his innocence, safeguarding his vital interests, and exercising his rights in the various courts. Inheritance law, wills, and estates are considered a rather complex and sensitive legal field and require professional treatment by experts. Choosing the right inheritance and wills lawyer who has experience and reputation in the field can be the difference between managing the estate in an orderly and meticulous manner and loopholes and ambiguities. The law firm and notary Scheiman Hahn invites you to seek the help of senior legal experts with many years of experience in wills, inheritances, and estates, so that you can be quiet and secure the future of your family in any situation, scenario, and for any need and purpose.